Hi everyone, Darren Hunter here. I'm with Deniz Yusuf. We're talking today about how to convert private landlords from self-managing to full management. And Dennis, I remember we had a conversation some years ago
Mhm.
where I asked and said, Dennis, what was your conversion rate when you were a BDM in a country town in New South Wales? When it comes to approaching private landlords, what was your conversion rate at getting them to full management? And you said, what do you mean? And I said, well, what wasn't it? He says, well, 100%. Oh, hang on. In 4 years, there was one guy that said no. So I just thought if you've got a conversion rate of that level, then we ought to listen. So, Dennis, why should property management companies, rent rolls consider this strategy of converting private landlords to full management? What's good about it?
Okay, let me clarify. It was 100%. I actually turned down the one. There was one that I didn't pursue because of the very low socio area that it was in. The reason why they should is these people are uneducated. They're uneducated in using a qualified, experienced, good experienced property manager to be managing their properties. Darren, there's five key reasons why they are managing properties themselves, and depending on what state and country you're from, there is a good reason why you should
Well,
be chasing.
I think we need to say first that, of course, in Australia, 20% of properties are managed by private owners. And of course, our Americans are thinking, oh my goodness, well, it's got a lot to do with our legislation.
Mhm.
In New Zealand, it used to be sort of 60% of properties were managed by private owners. It's more of a 40% now because their legislation is getting tougher. There's more owners opting to give it to an agent because it's too difficult. So, of course, the tighter your legislation gets, the more private owners don't want to manage their property themselves any longer. But in America, of course, 80% of properties are very happily managed by private owners. So, Dennis, we listed out the five reasons here, but what are your five reasons? What are the reasons why private owners, knowing that property managers are out there, but why do they still choose to do it themselves?
Yeah, well, most of the time, Darren, they've actually had bad experience with a property manager. So that bad experience, they just think, well, wow, if that's what I'm paying for, I may as well do it myself. You know, so they think they can do a better job, which kind of is two reasonings. One is they've had bad experience. Number two is they feel that they can do it themselves. Third one is family or friend or kids, so that they can control them. And the next one is they are control freaks, right?
And that's a problem.
And
That's a problem too. So some of these
yep,
reasons aren't very good. But Dennis, I'll throw in another one here. They're also very tight on money. They're really
yep.
really focused on the money side of things, and just would rather hold on to that money than pay it to any agent.
Yeah, because they're looking at what it costs to have the property managed. They're not looking at the reverse, which is being uneducated on how much money a real estate agency can save you for being professionally managed,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, which is a key. Sometimes they've just got too much time as
yeah.
well.
Anyway,
Just got
let's
too
move
much
on.
time.
The next one is, of course, they have the time. So, they could be retired or something like that. But let's move on. We're going to go through four key steps. Of course, there's a huge hour teaching just in this, isn't there, Dennis? So we are summarizing at the moment, which is difficult for us because we really like our deep nuts and bolts. But let's go for the four steps. Step one is finding these privately owned properties at let time on portals. So what are we looking there for, Dennis?
Well, Darren, the first and easiest portal for people to be able to find, and this works in every country in the world that has Facebook, right? So you just open up your Facebook. When you go down the bottom and you click on Marketplace and then you click on Rentals, right? So you can do a search and you can even use the diagram, right, that gives you the distance of what you want the radius, sorry. So you could have a 10-kilometer radius, 1 kilometer, depending obviously on the demographics of your region. So, and you can just simply click in their houses for rent or even rooms for rent. So you want to be checking this anyway to identify if your tenants are subletting rooms, right? Depending on your legislation, you may not be allowed to sublet. Second way is checking those applications as well on the rental applications that are coming in to your office. So these leads are coming in. The BDM should be doing the calls to those private landlords. Another portal that you could be looking at, Darren, is realestate.com.au. Yes, they allow private landlords to advertise on there as well. You know, Darren, you can actually Google where can a private landlord advertise their property for rent, and you will get a list of websites for your country. You know, Darren, there's a very big website in America called, in New Zealand called Trade Me, right? That even real estate agents advertise on there as well. You've just got to be mindful of the do not disturb in accordance to those areas. But yes, there's so many places to look for private landlords.
You know what I'll be doing is getting that list of websites that you've just said there, Deniz, and doing some social media posts and some videos around these are the websites that bad tenants like to go the most. Because they know the screening processes aren't anywhere near as tough by a private landlord. They can get in with a smile and just well-dressed, as opposed to an agent that will do their stringent checks. So guys, there's a little rent roll growth tip there for you.
Well, let me add to the tip. I'd be calling Michael Sands from Teens by Design, and I'd be getting a virtual assistant that would be trolling these private landlords and getting the name, the number, the email, the property address, uploading them into the back end of Facebook and target market them of those articles that you're talking about.
Yeah, well done. All right, let's go to step 2. So once we've identified these properties, Deniz, it's then calling them. What should our approach be, and what can we say?
Well, firstly, they've got a pain. Their property's empty, right? Their home's empty. And, no doubt that they had previously had managed it, the tenants moved out. We know that there's going to be difficulties with a private landlord getting a tenant to go back and clean the property. So there's potentially 2 pain points, 3 if they didn't pay rent. So we already know they're in pain because there's no income coming in. So you pick up the phone and you offer to help them. You don't convince them or try and educate them straight away. You should be letting me manage your property. You're mad for doing it. That's the wrong approach. Simply give them a call, and I'll give you a script right now. Hi, Darren. It's Deniz Yusuf here from IGT Realty. I just noticed that your property's up for rent. Congratulations in going through the process of looking for a tenant. I would love to help give you some tips on how to market the property. I did look at your photos. I could even take some photos for you and enhance those photos through our concierge marketing technology that we have. Now, Darren, that's snap, okay? But they don't have to know that. And I'll even send you a guide of 10 ways on how to market your property. Are you okay if I give you assistance in helping marketing the property?
Yes, absolutely. Send it through.
Yeah, I'd also love to, if you don't mind, I'll also send through an article on 10 ways on how to reduce the stress levels of a landlord when leasing out their home. Are you okay if I attach that as well?
So just obviously some, useful information there, which is great. I think the key, Deniz, is that we've got to be highly useful and helpful to help them, not going in as a property manager at this stage, but certainly to offer advice and be a sounding board as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely correct, Darren. And quickly go into your portals of what you're using, so you can do some history checks on the property, and you'll be able to see how often the property's been marketed as well. Right. So if whatever system you use for your comparable market analysis, you can see how often it's been advertised. You'll see a pattern. It's important to keep an eye on if you've seen a changing in agencies, etc., because that'll help you with pain points that you can identify.
All right, let's move on. Step 3 is, what are we going to supply them? Email information from there. So how does that work, Deniz?
Yeah, well, so you in the script, you'd already agreed that it was okay for me to email some stuff through. So I'm going to be emailing you, and it's going to have all of our branding on there. I'm also going to be emailing you links to videos that I've done, feed you to my YouTube channel, and I'll have a section on how to self-manage your property with the fines on it in accordance to each state. Obviously, if I'm in the Shoalhaven, then it'll be in accordance to New South Wales. So I'll email them an example application. I'll email them how we do ingoing or condition reports or get ready reports, and show them the detail that we go in. I'll also email them a checklist of what to do once the tenant moves in, and there'll be a detail of every single checkpoint so I can show them how good our office is. I'm educating them through the information I give them.
Yep. Now, Dennis, before we move on to step four, you talked about there's another component that you can sort of add in here. It's like a 3.5 step, but it's also offering them a lease only. How does that work?
Yeah, most definitely, Darren. Well, if anyone's doing a casual let or a lease only of the property, and this used to be very, very common, years ago. Now it's less likely. So if you are still doing casual lets, you should be charging at least double the amount of your standard let fee. So if you're doing a 2-week let fee plus your taxes and your marketing, you should be charging 4 weeks, right? So double the amount. The extra 2 weeks over the period of just simply managing the property could be equivalent to up to 10 or 12 weeks, obviously indicative of the rent coming in. At that point, you could actually say, hey, how about we do that condition report, ingoing report for you? We'll take care of the application, the lease signing, the bonds. Remember, and you're educating them on all the works that's got to do. We'll organise the insurance, the smoke alarms, etc. And we will look after that property for that period of time, Darren, that you calculate that you're already getting paid for because you're charging the extra rent. Now, it could be 3 months, but you don't ring them up after 3 months and say, hey, the 3 months is up, come pick up your files. You get them to sign a full agreement, and then, Darren, you have, if they're not happy with your services after that 3-month period, they can come pick up the files by giving 24 hours notice or 48 hours. So it's a really easy way of educating, and you should be proving yourself that you are the go-to agency and they're going to let you manage it.
Yep. All right, let's go to step 4 and follow up.
Well, Darren, they may ghost you, right? They could ghost you. They may not be interested. You sent them all the information. So this is where you can send them a video message and giving them tips on, hey, I noticed your property's empty. It's been taken offline. Fantastic. Congratulations. Don't forget to do the security. Don't forget to do the smoke alarms. Don't forget to book in for your first inspection. So you're educating them still, right? So you're doing that follow-up. And if you've got any questions, feel free to give us a call, right? So the follow-up is crucial, right? And if the property's still marketed, give them a call and leave another voice message or a video message and email as the backup because you've already got that data, and offer to then take the property on and help them because you're giving them the stat how many days or you should have leased it by now.
Okay. All right. And I think another thing you could also offer them at this stage is a list of penalties of getting the process wrong, because there's a lot of people out there that think that they can competently manage their property but not realizing the amount of things they're breaching and how much is involved, particularly with Australian legislation.
Absolutely. You'd definitely be putting so that 10 ways on reducing your stress levels that I mentioned earlier, that's got the fines if you ever get anything wrong.
All right, so everyone, if you want to implement this strategy and the others that we've also got in our video learning, get in contact with Deniz. If you want to add accountability, we want to add coaching to that, work with us on an in-depth level to make sure, of course, the more accountability you've got in place, the more you're actually going to get results. So go to leadmachinesystem.com or just get in contact with Deniz, book directly into his diary at leadmachinechat.com. Take care.